Guts is looking mighty majestic in that pose. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Let's Play Dark Souls 2. Today we are going to explore Majula a little bit. We're going to level up, talk about stats and covenants, and we'll talk to a few important NPCs before we venture out into the Forest of Fallen Giants. Starting from this episode on, I figured a lot of stuff out, and found a lot out because my second character who I'm playing around on at my own leisure is now way ahead of Guts here. So this is going to become less of a blind LP from here on out. Wait, that's not the path I want to go to. I want to come around here to this giant pit and walk straight past it to a different well. And you see the stone is kind of suspiciously placed here. If you hit it, it will drop into the well and it acts as a pulley. And we can pick up a shard of estus, which is a really important item because your flask in Dark Souls 2, which we haven't gotten yet, we'll get that in a minute, only starts off with one use before you have to refill it at a bonfire. You can only use it one time between bonfires. To start out, anyway. You find estus shards few and far between in the game, and you use them to upgrade how many charges it holds. One estus shard means one more use of the flask before it has to be refilled, which I think explains why life gems were added, because you have so few uses of the flask compared to Dark Souls 1. By the way, this is the way you get down to these items that are strewn along the cliffside that I was looking for at the end of the last episode. So we get a morning star and a chime, and up ahead we get binoculars. The chime is really important because it's a new addition to Dark Souls 2. Chimes are for casting hexes and miracles now. Hexes are a new spell type they added in Dark Souls 2. They're kind of like dark magic in Dark Souls 1, and they use intellect and faith. And also a lot of them cost souls to cast.
Are you the next monarch? Or merely a pawn of fate? Bearer of the curse, I will remain by your side till this frail hope shatters. Take this with you. May it ease your journey. Go on and see the king. He who made Dranglake what it once was. He who peered at the essence of the soul. King Vendrick. Bearer of the curse, seek misery. For misery will lead you to greater, stronger souls. You will never meet the king with a soul so frail and pallid. Seek those whose names are unutterable, the four endowed with immense souls. Their souls will serve as beacons. Once you have found them, return here to me, so that hope will not fade away. Is that a shard you found? Here, let me see it, so that I may help you. To see light, to see hope, however faint it might be.
And this is the Emerald Maiden, the person you go to level up and to upgrade your flask with estus shards. Real quick, I want a certain amount of strength and dex before I go into the Forest of Fallen Giants to meet the requirements for a certain weapon. Also, between the Emerald Maiden being how you level up, the gems pretty much being grass, the health cap, the soundtrack, the effigies pretty much being stones of ephemeral eyes, the upgrade stones are stones again, like faint stone returns. Spices restore charges of your spells now, like restoring mana. It's feeling kind of like Demon Souls up in here. I half expected the Emerald Maiden to go, "Let strength be granted so the world might be mended." Alright, and now I'm going to take a minute or two to explain what all the stats do in this game. They made some pretty major changes. So, first of all, we have Vigor, which increases your HP more so than any other stat. It also adds petrification resistance, let's see, I think that's it. Endurance gives you more stamina, it gives you more physical defense. Endurance plus adaptability at the same time raises your poise. Vitality increases your equipment load and your physical defense, and it also gives you a small amount of HP. Attunement gives you more spell slots, which are how many spells you can equip, same as Dark Souls 1. It also increases your casting speed, which is new. Also, more attunement means you have more charges on your spells. Strength increases the damage of weapons that scale with strength. It's a damage stat for melee. Let's see. Adaptability is a new stat they added. Its main purpose is to boost your agility, which affects things like your roll speed and how fast you do things like drink an estus flask. And intelligence, faith, and dexterity are all just either melee or casting damage stats. Dexterity is usually used with faster weapons. Intelligence is for sorceries and pyromancy. Faith is for miracles. Oh, and before I forget, hexes also require both faith and intellect to scale.
You're undead, aren't you? You have that distinct scent, the smell of irreversible fate. This is Majula. It is a kind of settlement. A place where life is almost normal. And in Drang Lake these days, there are very few places like that. I am Solden. And like you, I lost everything. And now I'm here. You probably heard that it was possible to break the curse here. Well, that's not true at all. There's nothing here for you, me, or anybody. Do you know much about souls? Even I'm not certain, but I'm told that the soul is the essence of life itself. Anything living, sentient or no, supposedly has one. What we call the curse is traceable to the soul. Do you see what that means? To be alive, to walk this earth. That's the real curse, right there. We undead will never die. And that's quite a predicament, really. There are 4 beings in this land with giant souls. And wherever you go from here, you'll sooner or later come up against them. Each has a powerful soul and a terrible curse. If that frightens you, then you ought to just give up right now. Like I have. Do you ever cry out for help? The journey of an undead is long and treacherous. You'll face invaders from other worlds at every turn. If you need help, why not proclaim faith in the Blue Sentinels? When you face danger, the Blue Sentinels will come to your aid. Protection is yours, if you wish. You need only accept their kind embrace. That is a wise decision. People are weak, but the Blue Sentinels watch over us in their benevolence. Let the Sentinels cradle you in their embrace.
Okay, that's the crestfallen blue NPC, although not a phantom this time. And that's also our first covenant, the Blue Sentinels. And for joining them, we get a ring that boosts our HP a little bit. Covenants, if you're not familiar with Dark Souls, are groups that you can join for various reasons. Some of them are PvP oriented, some of them are designed around co-op. You usually get access to items and miracles and spells and lore tidbits as you level up with a covenant, usually by giving them some kind of item specific to that covenant. What the Blue Sentinels do is when someone invades you, another member of the Blue Sentinels joins your world to help fight off the invader. This is also probably a good time to talk about the way the online system works in Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2. Last time I kind of started to explain that with the asynchronous online stuff like the bloodstains, the messages, but there's also a PvP and co-op component to it. People can invade your world as Black Phantoms and kill you, and you can invade other people. And you can leave a summon sign on the ground so people can summon you for help, and you can also summon others to help clear bosses. And they'll appear as friendly Blue Phantoms. Most Covenants have some unique twist on the online play. Like in Dark Souls 1, there was the Gravelord Covenant, which infected 3 random people's worlds with extra enemies. And to get rid of them, they would have to find your sign and invade your world, and then kill you. So you could be fighting 3 versus 1 if all 3 people find your sign at once. Oh, and unlike Dark Souls 1, where you had to be human to be invaded, you can be invaded at any time in Dark Souls 2. However, you still have to be human to summon other people. There's also another covenant I could join in Majula, but I'm not gonna. It's the Champions Covenant, which disables co-op and gives enemies more health and damage. So now I'm gonna level up a little bit and prepare to hit up the forest, so see you in a second. Alright, I think I am now ready to finally enter the forest, the first major level of the game. Thinking about all the stuff I rattled off just now, like a minute or two ago, it got me thinking about something I was trying to get across early in the playthrough at the very start. I was saying at the beginning of the LP that if it weren't already really obvious from my very in-depth Dark Souls playthrough and my 100% LP of Demon Souls, the Souls games have become, over the past several years, my favorite series of RPGs ever. The atmosphere, the lore, the mechanics, gameplay, all that's good, but what a lot of people talk about when you bring Souls games up, is they only focus on how harsh they are. They only focus on the difficulty, but I don't really think that's the appeal. Plenty of games are difficult, but I don't think that the Souls games are even that particularly brutal. They're definitely challenging, but I don't think that the difficulty is what makes the Souls games special. It's something way more transient than that. I think what that element is that makes the Souls games stand out is discovery. Discovery in all of the details, the world building, the mechanics, the fact that it plays great, the enemy design, but chiefly among all of those really awesome things about the series, chief among those is the sense of discovery you get in the game. There's always something new to discover. It's old school, but not because it's punishing. It's old school because it harkens back to those times where you would call your buddy up or talk to your friends on the playground about some, random Super Nintendo game or whatever. And somebody would tell you, if you do this, then this will happen. And everyone would just gasp, like totally flabbergasted that something like that's even possible without them knowing about it. Dark Souls is a series full of moments like that. And the details are just so rich, and there's so much to explore and learn. There are just tons of unknowns, which makes it really exciting. And that's part of what makes it work as a horror game, too, just as an aside. I've always said that the Souls games are part horror, as much as they are action RPGs. I think it's just really cool that the game reveals so little explicitly and makes you fight for every little bit of knowledge. And you just stumble around blindly, or really dig in and discover stuff. I think that's what makes the Souls games so special. Speaking of discovery, I'm trying to find the pathway along the river. Actually, I think it's just if you straight up follow the river. Yeah, it's not a branching path. But first, completely miss. Swing and a miss. First, I want to make sure I'm not followed into the little valley before I pick up whatever's in there. I don't remember what the item at the end of this path is. Kind of easy to just miss this. Oh, it's just a petty little soul. Went out of my way for like 200 to 400 souls. Shit. Oh well, that's gonna be helpful anyway. I definitely want to be at 5,000 souls before I get to the next bonfire, for reasons that will hopefully become apparent soon. I really didn't pick up any throwing knives yet. Shit. I kind of want some throwing knives for what's waiting for me up here, aside from all the little stupid enemies, who I'm gonna just run past. I'm gonna run past, and maybe they'll follow me one by one up the ladder. I've noticed that about Dark Souls 2 is that they have increased the difficulty by forcing you to fight mobs of enemies at once. It wasn't all that often where you had to, in Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1, where you had to fight multiple enemies at a time. But in Dark Souls 2, it seems kind of frequent. Also, they're being really, really stupid and not following me up the ladder. So I'm just going to ignore them for now. I didn't come up here with the express purpose of getting them to fight me one by one on the ladder, or coming up the ladder. That's just a happy side effect that happens up here. What I really came up for is because there's a really annoying archer up here. You saw an arrow whiz by me. And that archer will just rain arrows down on you all day long if you let him. So I prefer to bypass all the guys downstairs and come after the archer first. Got a life gem for my troubles. I don't know what it is about Dark Souls 2, but the jump feels really, really stubby, so I'm kind of worried about this jump. Okay, no, it was far enough this time. It feels so much shorter. Maybe that's because I have low adaptability. Does adaptability increase? Or I mean agility and adaptability, which is what adaptability affects. Does that increase the distance of your jump? Speaking of discovery, that is something I want to experiment with. Is anything hostile behind me? No. I think there's like 4 or 5 minor enemies in this area. They're not a big deal. Clear them out, though. Clear them out if you intend to fight that giant knight who's leaning against the tree in the background. There he is. This knight is quite tough. That's kind of why I wanted the throwing knives, because if at all possible, I'd like to be able to keep my distance. I was messing around with the knight on my other character, trying to get the parry timing down for his attacks, and it's a pain in the ass to parry him. It's also a pain to try to backstab him, because he has an attack where he does a 180 slash behind him. So really, it's just going to be... There's that turnaround slash. If I can get behind him, that'll be great. Not counting on it, though. Ah. You can see how much damage he does, and he attacks mostly in 3-hit combos. He has one attack, which is... Let's see if he does it. He'll pause for a second and then dash forward and slash at you. It does a super, super high amount of damage. That was my chance to backstab him again. And for your troubles, you get a really, really good sword. It's the... Can't remember if that's pronounced Hyde or Haida. the Knight Sword. It does a little less base damage than the sword I started with, but it makes up for it by also doing lightning damage, which is quite good. And that's why I wanted to raise my stats up in the beginning. I wanted to make sure I hit the dexterity and the strength requirements for that weapon. I also want at least 10 dexterity anyway, for a weapon that I've been aiming for since the start of the playthrough. The whole reason I named this character Guts is because I know of the existence of a particular weapon that I want to pick up. Is there anything in this room? Wait a minute. I saw something. Something behind the shelf. Okay. Not much, but it's something. Now we start hitting up the stronger soldier enemies. And this looks like a huge trap. It actually looks like the trap from 1-1 in Demon Souls, except without the flaming boulder. Yeah, there's a guy who, as you're coming up the stairs, throws firebombs at you. Oh, please. Thank you. I think the firebomb soldiers are the worst enemies in this area. And one more. There's actually one more leaned up against the tree. But is there... Oh, okay, there's no alcove or anything. There's no hidden pathway. There is one more knight over here. Very well-concealed item on that corpse. You can just barely not see it from over by the stairs. Okay, now we'll head upstairs. By the way, about the knight back there, I'm just going to call it hide for now. I know someone at some point in the game actually pronounces it properly, so I'll figure out the pronunciation then. I'm just going to call it hide for now. The hide knight back there. Hide is a kingdom which fell into the sea, and it's also interesting that their armor very faintly resembles Solaire's armor. And now we are at the second bonfire in the Forest of Fallen Giants, and we have a merchant.
Buy something, anything. Oh, come now, help an old woman and buy something. My name is Melentia. You're a stranger to this land. Oh, we get as strangers these days. Everybody's gone and run off. Dranglake's been a pile of rubble since the war, fought long, long ago. And the giants crossed the sea. Seemed like the battles would never end. Poor folk like myself have nary a place to sleep. That's why I keep all me things right with me. You may travel light, but methinks you bear a burden of your own. They say these trees grew from the remains of the giants. From each carcass sprouted new life growing into what you see now. But you know what they also say? Don't believe what an old hag says. It's high time that I pick up and move. I've a bargain for you next time we meet, my love. It's high time that I've a bargain.
I really love this merchant. I feel bad for her. So the reason I wanted 5k souls when I came here is so I can pick up this house key, and I can also pick up a Pharaoh's Lockstone, which I'll be using later on in the level. If you exhaust her dialogue and spend 10,000 souls at her shop, she gives you a covetous silver serpent ring +1. Also, rings are upgradable now, which is really, really neat. She mentioned giants crossing the sea and waging a war in Drang Lake. Correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't the inhabitants of Anor Londo in its glory days all considered to be giants? This is pure speculation, but what if they crossed the sea from Lordran to Drang Lake to escape the abyss that spread when the first flames started to fade, and to found a new kingdom? I think that opens up a lot of interesting potential. Also, I learned something really interesting from the item description on the Lingering Dragon Crest ring later in the game. Present-day Drang Lake is where Vinheim used to be. The country where all the mages... Oh my god, I didn't think that little fall would kill me. That's an embarrassing first death. Okay, we'll be back in just a moment. Not making that same mistake twice. Pop an estus before I drop off there. Oh, I didn't even mean to move off. I think I just tapped the stick a little bit too hard. Oh, that was stupid. So what was I saying before I died? Oh, right, the item description on the Lingering Dragon Crest ring confirms present-day Drang Lake to be where Vinheim used to be. Drang Lake is Vinheim. And Vinheim was the place where all the sorcerers were from and where they studied, according to Dark Souls 1. Remember the Vinheim Dragon School and Rickert, the blacksmith, beneath Firelink Shrine? The one between Firelink and New Londo? And Greggs, who was looking for Logan, who was apparently his apprentice, or maybe an assassin from the Vinheim Dragon School. And Logan himself, Big Hat Logan, who hollowed out in Seat's archives looking for a magical way to attain immortality. They were all from Drang Lake or Vinheim. God damn, that's really cool. So this place is more familiar to us than you might think. We've already heard a lot about Vinheim from stuff in Dark Souls 1. I'm not venturing further into that cave for the time being, because I think those fireballs will pretty much one-shot me. That's fine for now, though, because I got what I wanted out of there. There are a lot of items scattered around the floor just past this wall where you see all the flames. I don't know how to get to them just yet. I'm sure I'll figure that out later. This is something really cool, by the way. You notice I'm climbing this ladder way quicker and my stamina's going down? I found out that you can climb ladders quicker by holding down the B button now, kind of like how you would slide down ladders quickly in Dark Souls 1. In Dark Souls 2, they added faster climbing. That is a welcome, awesome change. Should I pop a gem or... Oh, right, I'm out of Estus. So yeah, the gem was my only option. I definitely want to do that before I get firebomb trapped again. And we've been going for quite a bit. So we'll finish up the Forest of Fallen Giants and have our first real boss fight of the game, and probably our second and third boss fights as well, in the next episode. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take it easy. Have a good one.